years, the world has been whispering about what really tore Harry and Meghan apart. Every headline, every exclusive insider, every cryptic quote made us wonder what happened behind those perfect smiles in that California mansion. Harry kept his silence for so long, guarding every secret, staying loyal to the woman he gave up a kingdom for. But that silence, it's gone. Because now, Harry's finally cracking open the truth, and it's darker, rawer, and more painful than anyone dared to imagine. People thought it was just another royal drama, another spat between the palace and the runaway prince. But no, this is something else entirely. This is betrayal wrapped in love, humiliation dressed as privacy, and secrets sharp enough to wound a man who once believed he'd escaped the cage of royal life. Sources close to Harry say he's been carrying this truth for years, quietly, miserably, and what he's revealing now has shaken even his closest friends. It started with something small, a whisper, a leak so personal it made the entire royal reporting circle freeze. It wasn't about money or power or duty, it was about his body, his privacy, his pride. When Radar Online published the shocking report detailing exactly which medications Harry was taking, the brand names, the bottles, even the side effects, the world gasped. Finasteride, minoxidil. The story framed it innocently, hair loss treatments, nothing more. But buried beneath that clinical tone was humiliation, because those same medications come with side effects that no man wants broadcasted to millions. Mood swings, emotional dips, even performance issues. And the question that haunted everyone, who could possibly have known that level of detail? Who could describe the bottles in his bathroom, the smell of his shampoo, the rhythm of his nightly routine? The answer, whispered by insiders, was brutal. Meghan. For Harry, that leak wasn't just an invasion of privacy. It was betrayal. He wasn't just exposed, he was mocked. The press softened it with lines about friends being concerned about intimacy issues, but beneath that sympathy was a dagger, one that painted him as weak, unbalanced, and somehow responsible for his own fading marriage. Meghan didn't just share a secret, she weaponized it, turning something intimate into a headline crafted to hit where it hurt most. From that moment, the pattern became clear. It wasn't just about the leak. It was about control, and Meghan, according to those close to Harry, has always understood control better than anyone. She's a woman who's built her life on precision. Every photo, every gesture, every quote is calculated. From Hollywood to the palace, her timing was immaculate. And now, sources say, she used that same instinct not to build a brand, but to dismantle a man. Even before the leak, things inside that Montecito mansion had gone cold. Not explosive, not dramatic, just cold, the kind of cold that seeps into walls and hearts and makes even sunshine feel gray. After their second child, something shifted. The laughter that once echoed through their late nights disappeared. Their date nights vanished. The couple who once clung to each other in front of cameras now moved like polite strangers sharing a schedule, not a marriage. Meghan threw herself into image projects, brand deals, scripts, interviews, anything that kept her in control of how the world saw her. Harry, meanwhile, kept trying to fix something that was already slipping away. He clung to memories of warmth that no longer existed, believing love could somehow reheat what was already frozen solid. But insiders say he felt her slipping long before the world saw it. And Meghan, she was already planning her exit, not dramatically, not emotionally, but with quiet calculation. Because in her world, she doesn't get left. She leaves. By the time the headlines started turning against him, Harry wasn't just losing his wife, he was losing control of his own story. The woman who once held his heart and his secrets allegedly began using them as leverage. Privacy became her weapon. And behind the gates of Montecito, that glamorous escape from the crown turned into something colder, crueler, a battlefield disguised as a mansion. It didn't all explode at once. That's what makes it worse. The collapse came in waves, slow, deliberate, and painfully orchestrated. When you piece it all together, the fucked story doesn't look like a love gone wrong, it looks like a script. Every stage of their relationship had purpose, timing, and precision. And now, when people close to Harry look back, they see the signs everywhere. Stage 1, the wedding. A royal spectacle that looked like a fairy tale to the world, but behind the scenes was a strategic masterpiece. Meghan wasn't stumbling into royal life, she was stepping onto a stage she'd studied for years. Every camera angle, every smile, every soundbite was perfectly played. She knew the power of that image, a biracial American actress walking down the aisle of Windsor Castle, rewriting history. But insiders claim even then, her mind wasn't on the crown, it was on what came after. The platforms, the brand, the long-term reach of the Duchess. Stage 2, the honeymoon. Short, glittering, but uneasy. Sources say she complained he was too clingy, too emotional, too intense. Harry thought he'd finally found someone who loved him for himself, not for his title. But what he didn't realize was the title was part of the attraction. Meghan knew exactly what came with Prince Harry, and she was already calculating how that story could one day belong to her. Then came stage 3, after the children. That's where everything froze over. After the second baby, their home changed completely. Not a sudden explosion, just quiet, relentless distance. Harry would try to bring back warmth, plan family dinners, small moments, but it was like hugging smoke. Meghan immersed herself in public-facing projects, podcasts, interviews, business ventures. She looked polished, powerful, and perfectly in control. Meanwhile, Harry felt like a background character in his own marriage. The man who gave up everything for her was slowly fading out of her frame. Then came the leak stage 4, the hair saga. First, small slips, tiny pieces of private information somehow ending up in tabloids. At first, he thought it was coincidence. Then the timing got too sharp, too precise. Details that only one person could know, making their way into public gossip. Each one chipped away at his security. His friends stopped calling, terrified they'd end up in headlines next. For Harry, every article felt like an ambush. But for Meghan, insiders say it was strategy. Controlled exposure. Enough to build sympathy for herself. Enough to make him look fragile, unstable, even weak. Stage 5, the videos. That's when things turned dark. No public fight, no screaming, just quiet moves behind closed doors. Meghan allegedly began showing private clips to select friends' footage of Harry at his worst. Harry passed out. Harry stumbling at parties. Harry caught in moments he'd never want anyone to see. It wasn't random. It was a quiet message. I hold the power. Sources whisper about a secret vault, videos, photos, messages, some harmless, others devastating. Clips from nights he'd rather forget, moments when he wasn't himself. Even deeply intimate recordings that were meant to stay private forever. But the most chilling part, according to insiders, Meghan didn't keep them for memories. She kept them for leverage. One source described it as a library of a prince's worst moments. Hidden, locked, controlled by someone who knew exactly how to use them if things ever went south. Friends say that after he realized what she had, Harry began living in quiet fear, wondering if every argument, every cold glance would lead to another leak. He didn't know how much she had, only that she had enough to destroy him. Every day felt like waiting for the next grenade to drop. And when that medication story finally broke, the one about the finasteride, the performance issues, the insinuations, it wasn't the beginning of the end. It was proof that the end had already been written. After the leaks, after the humiliation, came the whisper that turned the entire story upside down. The kind of rumor that spreads quietly, cautiously, the one even seasoned insiders are too afraid to say out loud. It came from deep inside the circle, from someone who claimed to know more than anyone outside that mansion could imagine. The allegation that Meghan never carried the children herself, that both pregnancies were through surrogates. A medical professional one allegedly close to the family was even said to have hinted it. No paperwork, no proof, just whispers. But in royal, circles, whispers are bombs. Because if that were true, if even the smallest part of it held weight, it wouldn't just be gossip. It would be a crisis. In Britain, lineage isn't just a family matter. It's identity, law, legacy. The bloodline defines the monarchy itself. And if there was even a question about that, it would shake the institution to its core. The palace never addressed it, of course. Silence was safer. But behind that silence, sources say Harry was unraveling. The idea that such a truth or even a rumor of it had been hidden from him broke something deep inside. A man who'd once vowed to give his children the love and honesty he never had, now faced the terrifying thought that even he might not know everything about their beginnings. For Meghan, insiders claim it was another narrative to spin about privacy, protection, trauma, health. She could turn even a rumor into sympathy. But for Harry, it wasn't strategy. It was heartbreak. He wasn't angry for the cameras. He was shattered behind closed doors, realizing that the woman he once thought he knew inside and out might have been scripting an entirely different story all along. And this was the final straw. The last fracture in a marriage that had already become unrecognizable. What started as a love story ended as a chess game, every move calculated, every secret weaponized. Now, standing in the aftermath, Harry isn't the same man who once ran from palaces for love. He's stripped of everything he thought. He was protecting his dignity, his peace, his privacy, even his sense of self. The home that was supposed to be his freedom turned into his cage. Every secret he ever trusted her with became a headline. Every moment of vulnerability became ammunition. He had escaped the monarchy, only to find himself trapped in a different kind of institution, one built on image, manipulation, and silence. And Meghan? She's already moved on, poised and polished, her narrative perfectly in place. The leaks, the rumors, the reinvention, all just chapters in her story of resilience. She didn't fight to stay, she fought to win. And when she said "I do," insiders say she wasn't promising forever, she was promising control. In the end, this wasn't a royal fairy tale. It was a story about power, who owns it, who tells it, and who loses it. Harry finally understands that crowns aren't the only things that can weigh you down sometimes. It's the people you trust most who turn your freedom into a battlefield.